Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Career Crush Q&A. I'm Emily Aries, the founder and CEO of Bossed Up, where we're here to help you craft that happy, healthy, and sustainable career path. And our weekly Q&A Career Crush series is all about getting to pull back the curtain on the lives and career paths of some seriously impressive boss ladies out there. And I am so excited to have Farzanna Haffizula, a medical doctor, here with us, who is an absolutely incredible award-winning author, speaker, and doctor with her own private practice in South Florida. She's the past national president of the American Medical Women's Association and a host and anchor of a TV series all about mission critical health, a new series that she's going to tell us more about today. And, of course, to top it all off, she's a mother of 4 grade school children, and we are so excited to hear from you, Farzanna, about how you crafted this incredible career in medicine and made it work for your lifestyle. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me, Emily. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello to the viewers.
I am so glad that our paths crossed back in January at the Yale Women's Leadership Summit, where I had the pleasure of keynoting that amazing conference with all of these young, bright, ambitious young ladies. And I'm just curious to hear, what was life like for you when you were just getting started, and how did you choose medicine as your career path of choice? And we're going to, of course, unpack a lot more about how you got to where you are today, but how did those early days look for you?
Great question. And again, it was my pleasure to meet you. You were so dynamic at that conference. So
Thanks.
It was my honor to meet you. So gosh, I have to go back pretty far, and I won't tell you just how far. A woman never tells her age. So for me, I actually knew I wanted to go into medicine from very early on. I grew up in Trinidad, and my mom was a charge nurse at the San Fernando General Hospital. And if ever I was sick, she would take me to the hospital with her. I was supposed to sit at the nurse's station with some crayons and some paper and, just kind of, spend my hours that way. Not me. I sort of escaped, went onto the ward. Honestly, I was on the ward on a children's ward with burn victims.
Wow.
And I saw children just covered in bandages with IVs hooked up and beeping monitors. And my heart completely melted and yearned for them to get better. So in that particular time, as I kind of went from one bed to the other, telling them stories about fantasy lands to try to take them away from their pain, I knew that I had to be on this path in medicine. Now, children were always close and near and dear to me, and as my life progressed, I realized that I became way too emotionally attached to the kids. I wanted to definitely do medicine, but it couldn't be as a pediatrician.
Wow.
Because my heart and soul just got wrapped into it where I saw nothing else.
Right.
So I decided, as my life went on and I, continued my path in medicine, I chose internal medicine. I definitely still deal with kids and the parents, but now I still have that challenge, but I don't have that whole heart and emotional involvement in that sense. But as God would have it, He gave me 4 kids.
Yeah,
so
right.
They are embedded and they teach me, and they're such a dynamic part of the process of life for me. It's been
amazing.
Wonderful.
That's so awesome. And I have to say, this is not an easy career path to pursue, right? We work a lot here at Bossed Up on burnout prevention and drawing those healthy boundaries like you're talking about, so that even when we have the hardest days in our careers and in a career in medicine, those are some really tough days. How do we persevere? How do we maintain our own sense of self-worth, self-care? And I think, ironically, that doctors and those in careers in care can sometimes be the most giving, to the point where they fall into this martyrdom trap. So what did that look like for you, and how did you learn to draw those healthy boundaries that keep you not just effective at what you do, but sustainably successful over the long term?
Great question. And now I'm much better at it than I was in the beginning. Of course, we all sort of perfect our ways and learn from our mistakes, and any obstacles or opportunities for refinement or any mistakes that you make. So my husband and I actually started off together. We met in medical school from day one, actually, during orientation. And so just kind of having him on the journey, having a great supportive partner, being able to have that ebb and the flow, and understanding how your relationship with those around you will play a great role in how you're able to strike balance, and making sure that you keep your own health and wellness at the center of that equation was key for me. So now today, I find that I fold in many activities that sort of are hobbies for me,
Yeah.
along with family activities. Or it might be a charity event or a volunteer opportunity through the American Medical Women's Association that we could all bring in together. We actually just ran a 5K together. My
Nice.
girls and I, my husband, we left the little guy at home. That would have been way too much for him. But, you certainly can fold in, taking care of yourself, making sure your fitness and wellness, along with any professional, commitments that you've made, along with charity work and volunteering. You can certainly overlap those worlds and make it happen. And that allows me to balance and keep myself right on the path I'd like to stay on.
I love it. And I love especially hearing from women who have crushed it in their careers, but don't lose that sense of, I deserve some time too. I deserve some 5K time. I deserve some fun time. I deserve hobbies. They are not a luxury. We barely talk about hobbies in America anymore. It doesn't need to be your side hustle. It can be for fun and play, and that's so important too.
Absolutely. That's the way to energize yourself. I think that's how you build on your positive energy. I mean, we would break out in Caribbean dance anytime, anywhere, anyhow. Just give us a beat and we're there.
I love it. I love it.
Got it.
My Colombian half of my family lived in South Florida in Miami for 25 years, so
Very nice.
It makes me want to get back into the tropics, although I have to say the weather in D.C. lately has felt pretty dang tropical already. But a quick reminder for our viewers, if you are just tuning in, use that hashtag #CareerCrush on Twitter to stay up with today's conversation. I'll be live tweeting off to the side here, and you can also connect with Farzanna here on Twitter at BusyMomMD. That's BusyMomMD as in medical doctor, and I'm at Emily Aries or BossedUp.org. And even well after this interview airs, if you're catching it on YouTube after the fact, we love to keep in touch with you on Twitter. So give us a shout out there and ask away. Ask the questions that you want to hear in terms of how Farzanna has made this her life's work and her life's calling. So question for you, especially I love the American Medical Women's Association, AMWA. I love this focus on lifting women and men who support women to achieve all that they can professionally in an industry that has been historically male-dominated.
Yes.
What is the focus of your work there in the past or present, and what unique obstacles do you feel women still face in male-dominated fields like medicine, and how can we overcome those?
Absolutely. Well, for my involvement in AMWA started as long as my medical career. I was a medical student first year. I got involved then. I had some amazing women mentors who are still very much involved in my life today. They've become family for us. And, from that point in time on, I had a lot of prejudice that I faced as a woman in medicine.
Yeah.
Not just from the men, but certainly from a lot of women as well, too. And trying to navigate those inroads and off-ramps and doing it in such a way that you make sure that you're demanding respect, making sure that you present yourself in the way that you want to be remembered, but also seeing if you can overcome those obstacles in a way that could be meaningful for those around you who are coming behind you as well. So AMWA helped me to navigate a lot of that. The relationships that I not only formed back then, but continue to form today are lasting bonds with women who are incredible, who have different stories, different backgrounds. I've learned so much along the way, and it really helped me to develop my style, not just as a doctor, but as professional.
That's great.
Someone who can navigate many different, avenues of life at the same time. So AMWA has the ability to not just, of course, approach women's health issues, but also get into the psychological and the social aspect and the professional aspect, and bringing dynamic leaders like yourself, who can certainly allow us to continue to be accountable and to never be complacent, to make sure that you are grabbing life by the horns, you are leading with your heart, and you are doing where your heart's showing you to go.
That's great. And I love the acknowledgement of that challenging interplay between being assertive, being a leader, demanding and commanding respect, while also trying to not be judged for it in the way that everybody still judges women more harshly when they're being assertive. And so that, it feels sometimes like we're stuck tap dancing on a tightrope trying to be, like a leader, like a boss, but also likable. And
Yes.
it's such a challenging thing that having a community of women who can champion you and remind you of your leadership potential and really reflect back to you the most courageous iteration of who you want to be. That's, that kind of a community of courage is so critically important to all of our development that it's great to hear of the work that AMWA is doing there.
Oh, yes.
I also think about some of my friends who have just survived their medical residency.
Oh,
Right?
yes.
So they've just put in an insane amount of work, like you have, an insane amount of educational, effort and energy. And how do you not become complacent when you are exhausted or when it feels like the system is rigged and the odds are stacked against you? Have you ever had a challenging moment in your life when you felt like I've taken a path, I'd like to make a change now? How do I do that in a forgiving way?
Absolutely. Oh, many times. Let me count the ways. Let's see.
Yeah.
So, when I was in residency, my husband and I actually couples matched, and we ended off getting trained together. We were at the Cleveland Clinic in Florida, and we had to do a lot of our training as well in Ohio. So I was pregnant with the first one in medical school.
Wow.
And that was certainly a challenge. And we had a wonderful family who came in to help us, kind of move everything up to Ohio. And the
Wow.
second time around, I was, I had one already and another one on the way. I was pregnant, So here I am navigating, horrible, what we call hyperemesis gravidarum, is extreme nausea and
Oh my
preterm
God.
labor, and being on the intensive care unit with night call and no resident work rules. We did not have, the certain
Right.
work limits that we had now. So we were working through 24 to 48 hours at a time, and here I
Right.
am
Which
trying
is
to navigate it.
terrifying.
So I had some amazing attending. Some of them were very understanding and great. Some were horrible.
Right.
Certain colleagues were great. Of course, you had to just sort of navigate that. I thought having a higher level of emotional intelligence, being able to gauge the situation with that particular person and knowing the right approach perhaps, and maybe the words that you need to use in order to sort of get your way to
Yeah.
make it safer for yourself. That's kind of the survival mechanism I used then.
Wow.
On down the road, as I finished the residency program and I started off in practice with my husband and his father, actually. That practice was a traditional type. I was in that practice for about 5 years, and I love working with my husband, and he's amazing in every which way. But that practice type just didn't meld with me. It just sort of kind of went against the grain of how I saw myself practicing medicine. I wanted to be able to spend as much time as I needed. I didn't want my patients to come in and give me just a few quick list things for me to go through. I wanted to be able to delve very deeply into each of their issues and to be able to navigate them in a way that I can without the insurance side of the equation. The insurance is telling you what to do and what to order, etc.
Right.
So after 5 years of that, after feeling the heartburn and the internal conflict from that, I said, you know what? It is time for me to jump off this cliff and move forward in my direction.
Right. Which is a scary thing to do when especially family and business are melded. Talk about emotional intelligence coming into play here. Being able to
Absolutely.
make that case in a loving way must have been challenging and scary.
It felt like giving birth.
Yeah.
It really did. And I just sort of, again, just proceeded without thinking twice about it. It was very difficult. I worked day and night to get everything together, but now it's about 8 years. I've been in my own concierge internal medicine practice, and patients can either come to my office to be seen, or I can do a telephone consult, or I can do a house call visit if I need, and I can spend as much time as needed and take real care of one patient at a time, making sure that I can manage all of the issues around them, communicate with any specialist in the community by phone or text, and make sure that I really have my finger on the pulse of my practice at all times. It gave me great gratitude to be able to practice that way.
Yeah.
And my children were a big part of that equation and the push to get it done.
Tell me more about that, because I just came off of a Bossed Up Bootcamp weekend here in DC, which is our flagship training program for women navigating, big life transitions and career transitions.
Yes.
And we take this holistic approach to work, love, and wellness, figuring it all out, gaining the tools and the skills that you need to get to that next level all in one weekend. And we had a pretty healthy percentage of moms in the room. We always do.
Yes.
But this time I think there were more moms making up the Bossed Up Bootcamp population than even usual. So it was like almost a 50-50 split,
Sure.
considering that we really focus on women in their 20s and 30s who are looking to reach that next level. Being a mother, how did it impact you? I cannot imagine, going through the residency process while pregnant
Sure.
and with a child at home. How did that
Yes.
impact your drive to make work for your life?
Well, fabulous question. And I had a child at every transition, every age and stage really of my career. So in medical school, I started off with my first one, who became the class baby, really.
Love
She
it.
really helped me to grow up and to become mature and to see life through a whole other lens.
Hmm.
That was my Zarina. Then came my Anissa in residency. And again, I believe, one of the first second-year students to lead a team at that time, and being pregnant at the same time.
Wow.
It just empowered me to another level. The maternal instinct took on a whole other, it morphed into something a little different, where I found
Mhm.
myself being able to carry myself in just a different fashion and see things in a different light. Then when I was in practice with my husband, I had my third daughter, Nadia.
Yeah.
And that was when I started to really start thinking about, I need to make a change. I need to make a change. This is not for me. And as I actually stepped over into forming my own practice and formed my own practice, that's when I had my son, Adam.
Wow.
And so what ended up happening is, at each different stage of life, from being, a mom first, second, third, and now fourth, not only did my priorities keep changing over time, I realized that I had to reevaluate very often the the rank order of those priorities. And
Yeah.
that helped me to navigate myself in the correct career path. And
Yeah.
many other things folded itself in on top.
I find that to be really true with all the parents that we've ever
Yes.
worked with, is that, um, and I don't have children myself, but I do have baby siblings who are not
Sure.
babies anymore, but 10 and 11 years younger than I am, who I feel like I co-raised with my
Of
wonderful
course you
parents.
did.
But having a crystallizing and clarifying moment in life, whether it's a tragic loss or if it's the amazing, birth of a child in your family, those are those moments that your priorities become very clear.
Yes.
And it's scary sometimes when we're in the midst of confusing and muddled priority times, or we're not sure what we want out of our lives, and that is a scary place to be in. But also, when we get clear on those priorities, I've found parents in particular bring a sense of clarity that then makes it easier to say yes or to say no to different priorities and different opportunities. There's actually an interesting amount of research in the field of negotiation, by Linda Babcock in particular, that shows women, I think it's what I call the mama bear effect,
Yes.
that women have a hard time in today's world in negotiating for ourselves. Well, we are very strong, capable, and sometimes her research showed even better negotiators than our male
Yes.
counterparts when negotiating on behalf of someone else. So that act of getting a child in your life, or someone who you're
Yes.
caring for, a parent, a loved one, a sibling, it just makes it easier for you to demand what you're worth and what you need to be sustainably successful. And that fear, I think, sometimes falls by the wayside. So maybe it's no coincidence that you took big leaps with every child that came
You're
into your
exactly
life.
right. I felt like I got an injection of confidence. And
Interesting.
yes, you certainly do. You get an empowerment with confidence. You're able to articulate a whole lot better because your level of clarity is that much
Yeah.
greater. It sort of amplifies your vision in a sense, and that's what I found. And so I really credit my children, and they are four different personalities as well. Being able to navigate, each of their personalities along with each of their passions and their likes and dislikes, and making sure that we all have a space on the schedule of the family schedule.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
was
Time is your values, right? I like to
absolutely
say that,
yes,
don't tell me what you value, give me your budget and I'll tell you what you value. And the same thing could be said about your calendar, right? Your
that's right.
calendar is your budget for time, and
You got
who
it.
makes it demonstrates what you really care about.
Absolutely. And so trying to take lessons that I've learned in the past and wanting my children to be exposed to many different opportunities so they
Sure.
could figure out their own passions. And so right now the girls are doing an engineering program down at FIU, and my son did something else a little different where he got to explore some artistic talents and other
That's
things as well
great.
too. So it's not always aligned with their one academic interest.
Sure.
So they found themselves kind of unearthing all these other skills and talents that were sort of hidden. It's nice for them to have that earlier on.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful to build in experimentation as an expectation.
Exactly.
So that, and hopefully we can all remind ourselves how easy it was to be experimental when we were kids, and we could change what we wanted to be when we grew up every 5 minutes. Whereas I think the adult women I work with, it feels impossible to change what we want to be when we grow up at some point, but really we have those same skills and same opportunities. It's just about having the audacity to redefine who we are when others see us in a certain way. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for women just getting started out and maybe considering careers in medicine in particular?
Okay, well, definitely I would like for them to lead with their heart. I started off thinking I wanted to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. And when I did have my children, I said, nope, I do not want to be at the beck and call of a beeper. Yep. I want to be able to have my finger on the pulse of my practice and be able to design my schedule around all the other priorities in my life that are ranked in order of my love. And so that's something that I'd love for them to think of. Also, do not be afraid to speak up and to break out of the mold. We do have some preset molds in medicine.
Yeah.
Definitely feel free to think outside of that box. Step back and look at the forest instead of just focusing in on the tree, and start building relationships with other women and men who are in different positions outside of medicine and inside of medicine. Like I tell my kids, it's never too early to start networking.
Yeah.
And that is how you build connections for a lot later on. Look at that, Emily. We met like a year ago
at
Yale, and then sort of reconnected, and this is all happening. I could tell you a million different stories about different ways I've connected with people, and then they come back full circle into your life in another fashion. So, just keep leading with your heart and know that nothing is set in stone. There is no right and wrong answer.
Right.
You will navigate those changes based on what your true compass is telling you. That's your heart.
Yeah.
And also feel free to switch from one situation to another, and there is no penalty.
Yeah. I think that's such good advice, especially for those of us who are used to looking for the right answer. Exactly. I feel like, especially in STEM fields, but even just for anyone who has been excelling academically, we have been trained to figure out what the right answer is and deliver that. And when figuring out your career, all of a sudden there's no right answer. There's no best option. It's about knowing what's best for you and daring to ask for what you want.
Absolutely. I use my intuition quite a bit to help guide me. And, while the scientific method, we may have algorithms and have evidence-based medicine, that's not how life works.
It's not. I know. I wish someone had told me that, because I was really good at figuring out the right answer, but I would never ask myself what I wanted.
Absolutely. At the same time, keep pursuing knowledge, and in different ways, through your experiences, not just in the rote academic environment that we used to, but, travel, talk, socialize, make sure that you immerse yourself in life. This is too short, this journey. So you got one chance, just immerse yourself, enjoy yourself, and it will work itself out.
Yeah, I think that's the element of faith that comes into this, right? It's like just being willing to take a leap and be daring and bold and sort of have that confidence that everything will work out, but that doesn't mean that you won't have moments of failure and challenge on the road to success. Like there will be failures on the road to success.
And those are important. Those are important parts of your journey.
Totally.
They help refine your process.
I also think that essentially what you're talking about, that leap of starting your own practice, is in essence about starting your own business, right? So you're a doctor and a business owner. And I think I'm curious as to, I know a lot of our ladies are in that process of figuring out how to start a business and how to make it work, how to make it lucrative, when that's not what we've been educated in. We didn't all go to business school, but how do we take our unique talents and gifts and actually create a potential future in which we have a business serve as our dream job? Like, what was that transition like for you, and what advice might you have for anyone who's looking to make that leap into starting their own business?
Absolutely. First, you need to do your due diligence, of course.
Yeah.
Make sure that you garner the tools that you need, if you don't already have them, to create that successful business.
Yeah.
We were not taught, we had no business classes, of course. And
of course.
Or an undergrad, unless you did take business, and you don't really have a background in that whatsoever. So feel free to be the go-getter, go out there. Now, what's wonderful is they do have combined programs. You can get your MD and your MBA, or your MD and your Master's in Health Service Administration, or your MPH. So feel free to do that combined degree. And
Yeah.
if you haven't done it, do the executive program if you're already a practicing
Right.
physician. It's never too late or too early to start that learning process.
Yeah.
You had a grandmother in our med school class, so go for it.
That's
And
amazing.
absolutely. And then once you do have the education and the background and the tools to be able to move forward, you do need to create a business plan and speak to others who are already in the field. You know, I talked about forming mentorship relationships with those who you may admire. Make sure that you, of course, engage in that a little bit more and explore different possibilities. And then when you jump out there and you make those starting steps, if you make certain errors in the process, that's okay. Again, those are opportunities for refinement. That is how you really help to keep yourself on a path that you'd like. You're learning and you're refining at the same time.
That's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's such a good point to underscore is just how other people out there want to help. It's so easy to see an amazing person you admire and become envious of them or competitive with them, when in reality, you know, people want to help people. We want other people to succeed. There's plenty of room for others. And so I think when you go into those conversations and build your community in an authentic way and build new relationships, it's totally okay to ask people for help and be ready and willing to give it too.
Exactly.
The topic of one of my most popular videos on YouTube now is how to have effective one-on-one coffee meetings that don't feel icky, right? That you can lead with a mutually beneficial relationship. And I think those are some of those soft skills that you mentioned at the top of today's conversation are so critical to all kinds of success.
You mentioned something really important about not knowing that there is more than enough opportunity for everyone. So I made it a point when I was president of AMWA to make sure that I uplifted, incentivized, and awarded and rewarded all of those who made a difference.
Yeah.
You know, didn't want anyone in the background. If you were in the background toiling away, I wanted to precipitate you to the top and let people know what you were doing. I think that's a way to help advance someone's career. And it's important for us to be able to do that and to help build synergy in the sisterhood that we're creating.
That's so true. I want to like high five you through the screen right now. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Farzanna. There's so much knowledge you just dropped on us. I cannot wait to, I didn't even have a chance to live tweet because you were like really engaging. I'm tuned in here, so I'm about to hit up Twitter with a whole lot of these great takeaways.
Awesome.
If our ladies want to learn more about you or about the American Medical Women's Association, where can we find out more?
Well, for AMWA, you can go on amwa-doc.org, and we have all of our initiatives listed. For me, you can go on www.busymommd.com. And, you know, if you search Amazon, you can check out Lead With Your Heart. This is my latest book that came out that speaks about that passion and drive and gives you a little bit of a spiritual journey on how to get there.
Awesome. Lead With Your Heart on Amazon and busymommd.com. Awesome. I will definitely include those links. Thank you so much for your time today. It's such an inspiration to talk to you, and I know that we have lots more in the works.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure, my honor. Thank you so much, Emily, again. It was great to connect again.
Thank you, and thanks to all of our bosses for tuning in. We usually do this Career Crush Q&A series live every Wednesday at 1 o'clock Eastern, but this is actually our last in the series for a little while. We're taking a break in the month of August, but we will be back in September, so stay tuned, and always sign up for our emails at bossedup.com to stay in the loop for all the latest and greatest we got going on. Thanks again, Farzanna. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and to all you bosses out there, keep bossing, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.